Why is there a black girl standing in first class? The man in 3C didn't whisper. He said it like asking why trash was on his lawn. Diana Oakes, 10 years old, froze. "I'm sorry, sir. The restroom in economy. I paid $6,000 to not deal with this." He waved at the flight attendant. "Remove her." $6,000. Her mother made that in 3 months. Diana turned to leave. No tears. She'd learned that lesson long ago. That's when she heard it. A father's voice. Breaking. "Liam, please, look at Daddy." Seat 4A. A rich man in a tailored suit. Kneeling, begging. His deaf son sat frozen. Eyes empty. Fingers white around a red scarf. This millionaire spent $186,000 on specialists. None could reach his boy. But this black girl from economy? The one they wanted removed? She was about to do the impossible. She hadn't spoken in 426 days. Tonight, she wouldn't need words. 3 hours earlier, Bradley Whitmore III had been sitting in his corner office at Whitmore and Associates, reviewing a $40 million estate settlement. His phone rang. Atlanta General Hospital. "Mr. Whitmore, I'm sorry to inform you. Your grandfather, William Whitmore Sr., passed away this morning at 6:42 a.m. Bradley closed his eyes. 91 years old. The last of the original Whitmores. The man who built everything. And the only person on Earth who could still reach Liam. Bradley's son had been different since the accident. 3 years ago, Eleanor was driving. A delivery truck ran a red light. The impact came from Liam's side. The boy survived. But the trauma to his brain took everything else. His hearing, his speech, his ability to process language the way he once had. Liam was 4 years old when it happened. He had been learning to read. He loved dinosaurs. He called Bradley Daddy-O because he heard it in a cartoon. After the accident, Liam never spoke again. Bradley hired the best specialists money could buy. Speech therapists, audiologists, neurologists, behavioral experts. $186,000 over 3 years. None of them could unlock whatever door had closed inside his son's mind. But Grandpa William could. The old man never tried to fix Liam. He never pushed. He never scheduled sessions or created treatment plans. He just sat with the boy. For hours, in silence. And somehow, they communicated. Through drawings, through gestures, through a language only they understood. "The boy doesn't need fixing," William once told Bradley. "He needs someone to sit with him in the quiet." Bradley never understood what that meant. Now William was gone, and Bradley had to tell his son. He decided to wait until they landed in Atlanta. Keep Liam calm during the flight. Deliver the news gently, in a controlled environment. That was the plan. But Liam found out anyway. Somewhere over North Carolina, the boy saw Bradley's phone screen. A text from Uncle Richard. "Service scheduled for Tuesday. Dad would have wanted you to give the eulogy." Dad, William, Grandpa. Liam couldn't hear, but he could read. And he understood exactly what that message meant. The shutdown began immediately. 19 rows back, Diana Oakes sat in seat 23F, staring out the window at clouds that looked like cotton balls. She was flying alone for the first time, unaccompanied minor. A bright orange tag hung from her backpack strap, marking her as someone who needed supervision. She didn't feel like she needed supervision. She felt invisible. Her mother, Sandra Oakes, worked 6 days a week at Golden Dragon Restaurant. 2 shifts. Prep cook in the morning, line cook at night. She couldn't afford 2 plane tickets to Atlanta. So Diana flew alone. She was going to stay with Aunt Ruth for the winter break. Maybe longer. Her mother was drowning in medical bills and grief, and sometimes Diana caught her staring at the wall for 20, 30 minutes at a time. Diana understood. She did the same thing. 426 days ago, her father had been alive. Raymond Oakes, 34 years old. Sous chef at a steakhouse downtown during the day, delivery driver at night to make extra money. He was delivering Thai food at 11:23 p.m. on Dorchester Avenue when two men approached his car. They wanted cash. He had $11. They shot him anyway. Diana was home when the police knocked. She saw her mother collapse in the doorway. She heard the words but couldn't process them. And then something inside her just closed. She tried to speak the next morning. Her mouth opened, her throat moved, but nothing came out. The doctors called it selective mutism, trauma-induced. Her brain had locked away her voice as a protection mechanism. "She'll speak again when she feels safe," the therapist said. "It could be weeks, months, sometimes years." 426 days. Diana hadn't spoken a single word, but she had learned something important in that silence. She had learned to watch, to listen, to notice things other people missed, like the way people's shoulders tensed before they yelled, the way eyes moved when someone was lying, the way hands reached out when words weren't enough. And right now, watching the frozen boy in seat 4A through the gap between headrests, Diana noticed something no one else did. The red scarf he was clutching? It wasn't just any scarf. It was hand-knitted, old. The kind of thing a grandparent would make. And the way the boy held it, not like a comfort object, but like a goodbye, told Diana everything she needed to know. Someone had died. Someone this boy loved more than anyone. And no one on this plane understood that. Diana reached into her backpack. Her fingers found the worn spine of her sketchbook, the last gift her father ever gave her. Bradley Whitmore III was not a man who knelt. He stood in courtrooms. He commanded conference rooms. He had argued cases before judges who controlled billion-dollar verdicts, and he never once lowered himself. But here, on the floor of a commercial airplane, he was kneeling before his 7-year-old son, begging. "Liam, son, I know you're scared. I know you're sad. But I need you to look at me. Please." Nothing. The boy's eyes were open, but vacant. His chest barely moved. If it weren't for the occasional flutter of his eyelids, Bradley might have thought he was looking at a statue. This was what the specialists called a shutdown response. Different from a meltdown. Worse, in some ways. During a meltdown, Liam would scream, cry, hit things. It was loud and chaotic, but at least he was present. During a shutdown, Liam went somewhere else entirely. Somewhere no one could follow. The last time this happened was 8 months ago, when a fire alarm went off at his school. It took 3 hours for Liam to come back. 3 hours. They were 47 minutes into this shutdown, and Bradley was running out of time. "Mr. Whitmore," Regina Cole, the head flight attendant, crouched beside him. Her voice was calm but firm. "I've been doing this job for 28 years. I've seen a lot of situations, but I have protocols I need to follow." "I understand. If your son doesn't respond in the next few minutes, I'll have to radio ahead for medical personnel. They'll be waiting when we land." "He doesn't need doctors. He needs—" Bradley stopped. What did Liam need? He had no idea anymore. "I'm sorry, sir, it's procedure." From seat 3C, the man with the Wall Street Journal let out an exaggerated sigh. "Is this going to take much longer? Some of us have connections to make." Bradley's jaw tightened. He knew that man. Charles Pemberton. Old money. Country club. The kind of person who measured human worth in net worth. A year ago, Bradley would have nodded politely, apologized for the inconvenience, played the game. Today, something in him snapped. "My son," Bradley said slowly, "just found out his great-grandfather died. He's deaf. He's in shock. And you're worried about your connection?" Pemberton shrugged. I'm just saying, perhaps you should have prepared the child better. This is a public space. Eleanor Whitmore, who had been sitting helplessly in seat 8C, they had booked late, couldn't get seats together, suddenly appeared in the aisle. Charles Pemberton, isn't it? Your firm handled the Mackenzie divorce last year. Her voice was ice. Funny, I heard you cried in the courtroom when the judge ruled against you. In a public space. Pemberton's face reddened. He turned back to his newspaper without another word. But the small victory meant nothing. Liam was still frozen, still gone. Diana watched all of this through the gap between seats. She watched the rich father crumble, the mother's fierce defense, the cruel man's dismissal. And she watched the boy. She had seen that emptiness before, in herself, in the mirror. In the weeks after her father's funeral, when her body kept moving, but her mind had checked out. She knew what it felt like to be trapped inside your own head, screaming without sound, drowning in silence. And she knew one more thing. Words wouldn't help. When Diana was in that dark place, everyone tried to talk to her. Teachers, counselors, her mother. They said things like, "It's okay to be sad," and "Your father is in a better place," and "You need to express your feelings." None of it reached her. What finally helped, the tiniest crack of light in all that darkness, was when Aunt Ruth came to visit. Ruth didn't say anything. She just sat next to Diana on the bed, pulled out a sketchbook, and started drawing. A flower, a bird, a house with a crooked chimney. She didn't ask Diana to respond. She didn't expect anything. She just drew. And after an hour, Diana picked up a crayon and added a sun to Ruth's sky. It wasn't speaking. It wasn't healing. But it was something. A thread of connection in a world that had gone completely dark. Diana looked at her backpack, the sketchbook inside. The 24 Crayola crayons her father had bought her 3 weeks before he died. She thought about what Aunt Ruth had done, meeting her in the silence instead of trying to pull her out of it. She thought about the frozen boy, the red scarf, the father who couldn't reach him. She thought about her own father's voice. "Little star, you don't need words to shine." Her heart pounded. Her hands trembled. What if she tried and failed? What if she made things worse? What if everyone laughed at the poor black girl who thought she could help? But what if she didn't try at all? Diana stood up. Her legs shook. But she took one step forward, then another. "Excuse me. You can't be here." The flight attendant, not Regina, a younger one, blocked Diana's path at row 6. Diana pointed toward the bathroom sign, the universal excuse. "The lavatory in your section is available now. Please return to your seat." Diana didn't move. She looked past the attendant toward seat 4A, where the boy sat frozen and the father knelt broken. "Miss, I need you to—" "Let her through." Both Diana and the attendant turned. Regina Cole stood in the galley doorway, arms crossed, studying Diana with sharp eyes. "Ma'am?" "I said let her through." Regina walked closer, her gaze never leaving Diana's face. "You're the girl from earlier, the one Pemberton harassed." Diana nodded. "And you want to help that boy?" Another nod. Regina glanced at Bradley, who had looked up from his position on the floor. His eyes were hollow, desperate. The eyes of a man who had tried everything and watched everything fail. "2 minutes," Regina said to Diana. "That's what I can give you. If it doesn't work, you go back to your seat and we handle this officially. Understand?" Diana nodded a third time. "Bradley," Regina called softly. "This girl wants to try something. Will you allow it?" Bradley stared at Diana, a 10-year-old black girl with a worn purple backpack and second-hand sneakers, the kind of person his grandfather would have stopped to help, the kind of person Bradley, if he was honest, usually walked past. "What can she possibly do?" His voice was hoarse. Diana didn't answer. She couldn't. Instead, she reached into her backpack and pulled out her sketchbook and the tin of crayons. Bradley almost laughed. Almost. But something about the look in this girl's eyes stopped him. She wasn't offering a solution. She was offering presence. "Fine," he whispered. "Try." Diana walked to seat 4A. She didn't crouch down like the adults had. She didn't get in Liam's face or try to force eye contact. Instead, she sat down on the cabin floor, about 2 feet from the boy's seat, her back against the wall of the galley. She opened the sketchbook to a blank page, selected a blue crayon, and started to draw. Nothing fancy, just a circle, then 2 dots for eyes, a curved line for a mouth, a sad face. She didn't look at Liam, didn't try to engage him, just drew. The cabin was silent. Everyone watched. Bradley, Eleanor, Regina. Even Pemberton peered over his newspaper. Diana finished the sad face. Then, with a yellow crayon, she drew a small star next to it. Still nothing from Liam. She turned to a new page. This time she drew something specific, a scarf. A red scarf with frayed edges and thick yarn. She glanced up, just for a second, at the scarf in Liam's hands. The boy's finger twitched. It was tiny, almost imperceptible, but Diana saw it. She kept drawing. Next to the scarf, she drew a pair of hands. Old hands, wrinkled, holding knitting needles. Liam's chest rose, fell, rose again, deeper than before. Diana added more details. A rocking chair, a window with curtains, a plate of cookies on a side table. She was drawing from imagination, but somehow she was drawing Liam's memory. The place where that scarf came from, the person who made it. How did she know? She didn't. Not really. But she understood loss. She understood that when someone you love dies, you hold on to the things they touched. You breathe in the smell of their clothes. You trace the places where their hands had been. Liam's eyes moved. Not much. Just a flicker. From the empty middle distance to the page in Diana's lap. Eleanor gasped. Bradley stopped breathing. Diana kept drawing. She added a figure to the rocking chair now, an old man with kind eyes and a gentle smile. And then, slowly, carefully, she drew something rising from the old man's chest. A star, floating upward, toward the top of the page. She looked at Liam. Their eyes met. For the first time in 51 minutes, the boy was present. Diana held out a green crayon. Liam didn't take it, but he looked at it, considered it. Diana placed the crayon on the armrest between them. Then she turned to a fresh page and waited. 30 seconds. A minute. Liam's hand moved, trembling, uncertain, but moving. His fingers released the red scarf, just slightly, and reached for the green crayon. He picked it up. Diana felt tears burn her eyes. She blinked them back. The boy looked at the blank page, then at Diana, then back at the page. And he drew. A single line, then another, a rough shape that might have been a chair, might have been a person, might have been nothing at all. But it was something. After 51 minutes of silence, it was everything. Bradley made a sound, or half sob, half laugh, and covered his mouth with both hands. Eleanor was already crying. Regina Cole had seen a lot in 28 years. She had never seen this. Diana drew a response, a small figure sitting next to Liam's shape. 2 people side by side. Liam added a window to his drawing, a square with 4 panes. Diana added a sky outside the window, blue and wide and open, back and forth, page after page, a conversation without a single word. Pemberton watched from seat 3C. His newspaper sat forgotten in his lap. For once, he had nothing to say. This black girl, the one he wanted removed, was doing something his $6,000 could never buy. She was reaching a child that no one else could reach. And she was just getting started. 12 minutes. 12 pages of drawings. Liam Whitmore was back. Not completely. His movements were still slow, his eyes still guarded. But the terrifying emptiness was gone. Bradley couldn't understand it. "Who is she?" he asked Regina quietly. "Who is this girl?" Regina checked her tablet. "Diana Oakes, unaccompanied minor, flying from Boston to Atlanta. Her aunt is picking her up at the gate." "But how does she know what to do? Is she trained? Does she have a special needs sibling?" Regina shook her head. "I don't have that information, sir." Eleanor moved closer, watching Diana and Liam draw together. The girl was showing Liam a page in her sketchbook. An older drawing, something she had done before this flight. A house. A small yard. A man standing at the door, waving. Liam pointed at the man, a question in his gesture. Diana nodded. Then, slowly, she moved her finger from the man on the page to the sky above the house. She drew a small star with her finger in the air, the same gesture she had used for Liam's great-grandfather. Someone who had gone to the sky. Liam tilted his head. Processing. Then he pointed at Diana, at the star she had traced. At her. His meaning was clear. "Your person went to the sky too?" Diana nodded. She reached into her backpack and pulled out a small photograph, its edges worn from handling. A man with warm eyes and a bright smile, holding a much younger Diana at a park. He was laughing. She was laughing. On the back, in faded handwriting, "My little star, Daddy loves you, always here." Liam looked at the photo, then at Diana. Something passed between them. Recognition, understanding, kinship. Two children who had lost the most important person in their world. Bradley watched this exchange. His throat tightened. "She's not trained," Eleanor whispered. "She's grieving, just like him." It hit Bradley then. This girl wasn't using a technique. She wasn't applying a method from some textbook. She was simply meeting Liam in the only place he could be reached. The silence. The same silence Bradley had been trying to fill for 3 years, with specialists, with therapies, with money. His grandfather had told him once, "The boy doesn't need fixing. He needs someone to sit with him in the quiet." Bradley hadn't understood. This 10-year-old girl did. He moved closer, kneeling again, but this time beside Diana, not in front of Liam. "Thank you," he said softly. Diana looked at him. For a moment, Bradley thought she might speak. Her lips parted, her breath caught. But no words came. Just a small nod. And Bradley realized this girl couldn't speak either. She was mute. Maybe by choice, maybe by trauma. But whatever words she once had, they were locked away somewhere, just like Liam's. Two voiceless children, finding each other at 31,000 feet. What were the odds? Or maybe, Bradley thought, it wasn't odds at all. Maybe some things happened because they were supposed to. Diana turned back to Liam. She picked up a red crayon, the exact shade of the scarf, and drew a heart on the page. Liam watched, and slowly, carefully, he drew one too. The next 20 minutes changed everything Bradley Whitmore thought he knew about his son. He watched from the side as Diana and Liam developed their own language. Not ASL, not written English, something entirely new. Diana would draw a simple image. Liam would respond with his own. She would add to his. He would add to hers. Back and forth, page after page, a conversation flowing faster than Bradley had ever seen his son communicate. At one point, Diana drew a question mark and pointed to the red scarf. Liam's face flickered. Pain, memory, love, and he drew an old man with a kind smile. Then he drew the same man knitting. Then he drew the scarf being handed from the old man to a small boy. A gift. A final gift. Diana nodded slowly. She understood. Then she did something that made Bradley's heart stop. She pointed to herself. Drew a man, younger, with a bright smile. Drew that man handing something to a little girl. She pulled out her tin of crayons, held it up, pointed to the drawing, her last gift, too. Liam's eyes widened. He looked at Diana. Really looked, for the first time since this started. And in that look, Bradley saw something he hadn't seen in his son's eyes for 3 years. Connection. Not the obligatory engagement Liam showed to therapists. Not the dutiful responses he gave to his parents. Real connection. Soul-deep understanding. 2 children who had lost everything finding each other in the silence. Bradley had spent $186,000 trying to unlock his son. This girl did it with a $2 box of crayons. Mr. Whitmore. Bradley turned. Regina stood behind him, her expression soft. We're beginning our descent. Everyone needs to be seated. Bradley nodded, but when he looked back at Liam and Diana, he couldn't bring himself to separate them. Can she stay here? Just until we land? Regina hesitated. That's against protocol. She's assigned to economy. Please. Bradley heard the crack in his own voice. Look at them. Regina looked. 2 children, heads bent over a shared sketchbook, drawing a picture together. The boy who had been frozen was now animated, engaged, present. The girl who had been dismissed as trash was now the most important person on the plane. I'll make an exception, Regina said quietly, but she stays in the jump seat during landing. Thank you. As Regina arranged the seating, Bradley turned to his wife. Eleanor, that girl, we need to do something. We can't just let her walk away. Eleanor nodded. I know. I've been thinking the same thing. Who is she? Where does she come from? Why is she flying alone? I don't know, but I intend to find out, Saul. During the descent, Diana sat in the flight attendant's jump seat, her sketchbook clutched to her chest. Across from her, Liam sat between his parents, but his eyes never left Diana's face. He was afraid she would disappear. She understood. She felt the same way. For 426 days, Diana had been alone in her silence. Teachers didn't know how to reach her. Classmates didn't know how to include her. Even her mother, loving, exhausted, overwhelmed Sandra, didn't know how to connect with a daughter who couldn't speak. But Liam understood. He didn't need her words. He needed her presence, her drawings, her shared experience of loss. In 12 minutes, he had become the first person in 426 days who truly saw her. And now, in less than an hour, she would walk off this plane and never see him again. The thought made her chest ache. Chid. The plane touched down at 5:08 p.m. As passengers gathered their belongings, Bradley made a decision. Diana. She looked up at him. This rich man in his tailored suit who had knelt on a dirty airplane floor for his son. He wasn't like Pemberton. She could see that now. My son's name is Liam. You already know that. Bradley's voice was careful, measured. What you did for him today, I don't have words for it. And I'm a man who makes his living with words. Diana blinked, waited. I would like to walk with you to your gate. Make sure you get to your aunt safely. Would that be okay? Diana hesitated. She glanced at Liam, who was watching her with anxious eyes. She nodded. Bradley's shoulders relaxed. Thank you. They walked through the terminal together, a strange procession that turned heads. Bradley Whitmore III in his $3,000 suit, Eleanor in her designer dress, Liam holding his mother's hand but craning his neck to keep Diana in sight, and Diana with her purple backpack and second-hand sneakers, leading them all through the crowded airport. From first class to economy, they had come together. Past Hudson News, past Cinnabon, past Gate A3, where the Whitmores would have exited. They kept walking. 823 steps, Diana counted. A habit from the days when counting was the only thing that kept her mind from spinning. Gate B12. A woman stood waiting. African-American, mid-40s, with kind eyes and nervous hands. She held a sign with Diana's name written in careful letters. Aunt Ruth. The moment Ruth saw Diana, her face crumpled with relief. She rushed forward, dropping the sign, and pulled her niece into a tight embrace. "Baby girl, oh baby girl, oh, I was so worried." "You're here. You're safe." Diana hugged back, still silent. But Ruth didn't need words. She had been there from the beginning. She knew. When the embrace ended, Ruth noticed the family standing behind Diana. "I'm sorry, can I help you?" Bradley stepped forward. "Mrs. Ruth. Ruth Oakes." "Mrs. Oakes, my name is Bradley Whitmore. This is my wife Eleanor and our son Liam." He took a breath. "Your niece saved my son's life today." Ruth's eyes widened. "What?" "I don't mean that figuratively. I mean that my son was in a medical crisis on that plane, and your niece was the only person who could reach him." Ruth looked at Diana. "Baby? What happened?" Diana couldn't answer, but she pulled out her sketchbook and showed Ruth the drawings. The sad face, the red scarf, the old man floating to the sky, the two children drawing together. Ruth flipped through the pages, her hands trembling. "She drew her way into his heart," Eleanor said softly. "She met him in the silence, just like you taught her." Ruth looked up sharply. "How did you know?" "Diana showed us. The photograph of her father, the crayons." Eleanor's voice was thick with emotion. "I'm so sorry for your family's loss." Ruth's eyes filled with tears. She pulled Diana close again. "Your daddy would be so proud," she whispered. "So proud, little star." Diana's breath caught. Little star. Her father's name for her. She hadn't heard anyone say it since he died. "Daddy." Bradley cleared his throat. "Mrs. Oakes, I don't want to intrude on your family time, but I need you to know something." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a business card. "My grandfather started a foundation 60 years ago, the Whitmore Family Foundation. We fund programs for children with disabilities, children who've experienced trauma, children who need alternative ways of communicating." Ruth took the card. "Read it." "I don't want charity, Mr. Whitmore. My sister raised Diana right. She doesn't need saving. This isn't charity, and I'm not trying to save anyone." Bradley glanced at his son, who was staring at Diana with something like hope. "I'm trying to thank someone. And maybe give two children a chance to keep doing what they started on that plane." Ruth hesitated. "What are you proposing?" "We have a pilot program, art therapy for children with trauma-related communication difficulties. Full scholarship, based in Boston, but we could arrange something here in Atlanta." Bradley paused. "If Diana's interested, if her mother approves, no pressure, no strings." Ruth looked at Diana. Diana looked at Liam. Liam held up his sketchbook. On the page was a drawing he had done while they walked through the terminal. Two stick figures, one big, one small, both with stars above their heads, and between them a line connecting star to star. Diana felt something shift inside her chest. A crack in the wall she had built. A tiny ray of light. She looked at her aunt and nodded. Ruth smiled through her tears. "I'll talk to her mother. No promises." "That's all I ask," Bradley said. The Whitmores should have left then. They had a funeral to prepare, family to notify, 100 details that needed attention. But Liam wouldn't move. He stood rooted to the terminal floor, eyes locked on Diana, his small body rigid with an emotion Bradley couldn't quite name. Fear. That's what it was. Fear of losing the only person who understood. "Buddy, we need to go." Bradley crouched down. "We'll see Diana again, I promise." Liam shook his head violently. His hand shot out and grabbed Diana's sleeve. Diana looked down at the fingers clutching her arm, then at Liam's face. Desperate, pleading. She understood. The goodbye was too sudden. After what they had shared on the plane, walking away felt like abandoning each other. And she felt the same fear. What if this was the last time? What if the foundation thing didn't work out? What if she went back to her silence and never found this connection again? Her chest tightened. Her breathing grew shallow. Ruth noticed immediately. "Baby? What's wrong?" Diana couldn't answer. The panic was rising. The same panic that came every time someone left. Her father leaving for his delivery shift. The last wave. The last smile. She never saw him again. And now she was supposed to just wave goodbye to this boy? This boy who had seen inside her silence? Her hands started to shake. The sketchbook trembled in her grip. Liam saw. Somehow, despite his own terror, he saw that Diana was falling apart. And he did something no one expected. He pulled the red scarf from around his neck, the scarf his great-grandfather had made, the scarf he hadn't released in 51 minutes of crisis, and held it out to Diana. The entire group fell silent. "Liam," Eleanor breathed. "That's Grandpa's scarf." Liam nodded. He pushed the scarf toward Diana more insistently. Diana stared at it. This precious thing. This last piece of someone he loved. He was giving it to her. She shook her head. She couldn't take it. It was too much. It meant too much. But Liam pressed the scarf into her hands. Then he picked up his crayon and scribbled something quick in his sketchbook. He turned it around to show her. A drawing of the scarf. An arrow pointing from a figure labeled L to a figure labeled D. And next to the second figure, a single word written in shaky 7-year-old handwriting. Safe. He was telling her, "Keep this, so you feel safe, like I felt safe when I held it." Diana's eyes burned. Her vision blurred. She looked at the scarf in her hands. Red wool, rough and warm. It smelled faintly of old spice and something else. Something that could only be described as grandfather. She thought about her own father's things, the crayons, the photograph, the way she slept with his old t-shirt for months after he died. This boy was giving her his comfort object, his security, his connection to the person he had just lost, because he wanted her to feel safe. Diana's throat ached. Something was building inside her. Pressure, emotion, words trapped behind a wall that had stood for 426 days. She looked at Liam, his anxious eyes, his trembling hands, his absolute certainty that she needed this scarf more than he did. And in that moment, Diana realized he was helping her. She had spent the last 2 hours helping him, drawing him out of his silence, connecting him to his grief. But now he was helping her, 2 broken children, taking turns holding each other up. It was the most beautiful thing she had ever experienced. Diana wrapped the scarf around her neck. The wool was scratchy against her skin. It smelled like someone else's memories. It felt like home. She reached into her tin of crayons and pulled out the red one, her father's favorite color. She pressed it into Liam's palm, a trade, his comfort for hers. Liam looked at the crayon, then at Diana, and slowly, for the first time since this entire ordeal began, he smiled. Not a big smile, not a happy smile, but a smile that said, "We're going to be okay." Diana felt her own lips curve upward in response. 426 days without words. 426 days alone. And now, finally, she had found someone who spoke her language. The goodbye took another 15 minutes. Liam drew Diana a picture. 2 stars in a dark sky, connected by a dotted line. He labeled one star L and the other D. Diana drew him a picture in return. 2 children sitting at a table, sketchbooks open, crayons scattered everywhere. Above them, she drew 2 angels watching, a man with a bright smile, an old man with kind eyes, their fathers, their guardians, still present, even in absence. Bradley and Eleanor exchanged contact information with Ruth, phone numbers, emails, the address of the Whitmore Foundation. "We'll call your sister tomorrow," Eleanor said. "Diana has a gift, a real gift. We'd like to help nurture it." Ruth nodded, still dazed by everything that had happened. "I believe you. After what I saw today, I believe anything is possible." Finally, there was nothing left to do but leave. Liam hugged Diana, a fierce, desperate hug from a 7-year-old who had just experienced the worst and best day of his life. Diana hugged back, her arms around this boy she had known for less than 3 hours. This boy who understood her silence. This boy who had given her his grandfather's scarf. When they separated, Liam's eyes were wet. He signed something, one of the few ASL phrases he knew, pressing his hand to his chest and then extending it outward. "Thank you." Diana didn't know sign language, but she understood. She mimicked the gesture. Hand to heart. Extend outward. "Thank you." The Whitmores walked away toward gate A3. Liam looked back every few steps. Each time Diana was still standing there, the red scarf bright against her dark skin, watching him go. At the corner, just before they turned out of sight, Bradley stopped. "Hold on," he said to Eleanor. "One more thing." He jogged back to where Diana and Ruth still stood. "Diana." He knelt down, putting himself at her eye level. "I need you to know something. What you did today, it wasn't luck, it wasn't coincidence. You have a gift, a real gift, the ability to reach people who are lost in their own silence." Diana stared at him. This rich man, this powerful man, kneeling in front of her like she was someone important. "I've spent 3 years and almost $200,000 trying to help my son. Specialists, programs, the best money could buy." His voice cracked. "And you, with a box of crayons, did more in 2 hours than all of them combined." Diana felt heat rise to her cheeks. "Don't ever let anyone make you feel less than," Bradley continued. "Not because of where you sit on an airplane. Not because of how much money your family has. Not because of anything." He reached out and gently touched the red scarf around her neck. "My grandfather knew something I forgot. He knew that the most important things can't be bought. Connection, understanding, presence." He looked into her eyes. "You reminded me of that today." Diana's throat tightened. The pressure was building again. The wall was cracking. "You're going to do amazing things, Diana Oakes." Bradley smiled. "I can't wait to see what they are." He stood, nodded to Ruth, and walked back to his family. Diana watched him go, watched Liam turn around one more time, wave, and disappear around the corner. And then they were gone. Ruth wrapped her arm around Diana's shoulders. "Come on, baby girl. Let's get you home. You must be exhausted." They walked toward the exit, past the gates and the shops and the crowds of travelers rushing to wherever they needed to be. Diana's mind was spinning. The man on the plane, the frozen boy, the drawings, the scarf, the crayon, the goodbye. It had all happened so fast, and yet something had changed, something fundamental, something she couldn't quite name. She felt lighter, Like a weight she had been carrying for 426 days had shifted, not disappeared. She didn't think it would ever disappear completely, but shifted, redistributed, shared. Check. They were almost at the exit when Ruth's phone rang. "Hold on, baby," Ruth answered. "Hello? Yes, this is Ruth Oakes." "What? Are you serious? Hold on, let me—" Ruth covered the phone and looked at Diana with wide eyes. "It's your mama. She wants to talk to you." Diana's heart stopped. Her mother, Sandra, who she hadn't spoken to, couldn't speak to, in over a year. Ruth held out the phone. Diana stared at it like it might bite her. "Baby, you don't have to say anything. Just listen. She just wants to hear you breathing. Know you're safe." Diana took the phone, pressed it to her ear. "Diana? Baby? Are you there?" Her mother's voice, tired, worried, loving. "The airline called, said there was some kind of incident on the plane, said you helped a little boy. Baby, are you okay? Please, just let me know you're there. Knock on something. Anything." Diana closed her eyes. She thought about the boy, Liam, the way he had reached out from his silence. She thought about the scarf around her neck, the gift from a stranger. She thought about her father, Raymond, little star, always here. She opened her mouth. The wall cracked, and one word came out. "Mom." Silence on the other end. Then a sound. Half sob, half laugh. "Diana? Baby? Did you just—" "Mom." Louder this time. Clearer. A word she hadn't spoken in 426 days. Her mother was crying now, full, heaving sobs. "Oh, my baby girl, I'm here. Mama's here. I love you so much." Diana felt tears streaming down her own face. The wall was crumbling. Not all at once. There were still pieces standing, but enough had fallen that light was pouring through. "Love you," Diana whispered. 2 words. Her second and third in 426 days. Ruth was crying too, her hand pressed to her mouth. The phone call lasted 3 more minutes. Diana didn't say much, couldn't say much, but she listened. To her mother's voice, her mother's tears, her mother's love. When she finally hung up, she looked at Ruth. And for the first time in 426 days, Diana Oakes smiled. Not a small smile, not a sad smile, a real smile. Bright and wide and full of something that felt like hope. 3 hours later, Bradley Whitmore sat in his grandfather's study. The funeral home had been arranged, the obituary drafted, the family notified, all the mechanical tasks of death completed with the efficiency Bradley applied to everything. But now, in the quiet of William's favorite room, surrounded by books and paintings and 60 years of memories, Bradley finally let himself feel. His grandfather was gone, the last of the original Whitmores, the man who had built the foundation, the man who understood Liam when no one else could. Bradley picked up a photograph from the desk. William and Liam, 6 months ago, sitting in this very study. The old man was drawing something. The boy was watching intently. They had been doing this for 2 years. Every Sunday, 3 hours of silent communion, and Bradley had never once asked what they drew, never once sat down to join them. He was always too busy, too important, too convinced that the real solutions came from experts with degrees, not from quiet afternoons with crayons. How much had he missed? His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Bradley opened it and felt his breath catch. A photograph. Diana, sitting on a couch, the red scarf still around her neck. Beside her sat a woman who must be Ruth. Both of them were smiling. Below the photo, a message. She said 2 words tonight. Mom and love you. First words in 426 days. Thank you for walking us to the gate. Thank you for seeing her. Ruth Oakes. Bradley stared at the screen. 2 words, after 426 days of silence. He thought about the little girl on the plane, the one Pemberton had wanted removed, the one who had sat on a dirty cabin floor and drawn her way into his son's frozen heart. She had found her voice, because his son had given her a scarf, because she had given his son a crayon, because 2 broken children had found each other at 31,000 feet and decided somehow to heal together. Bradley typed a reply. Thank you for letting us be part of her journey. Liam drew something tonight too. First time since he found out about Grandpa. He drew 2 stars, one red, one yellow. He said they were Diana and him. He paused, then added, I talked to the foundation board this evening. Diana has a full scholarship waiting whenever she's ready. No strings, no pressure, just an open door. Also, I sat with Liam tonight. Didn't say anything, just drew with him. You were right, Ruth. William was right. The boy doesn't need fixing. He needs presence. I'm finally learning. He hit send. Across the city, Ruth read the message aloud to Diana. Diana was curled up on the couch, exhausted from the most emotional day of her life. The red scarf was draped over her shoulders. Her sketchbook sat open on the coffee table. She had been drawing while Ruth cooked dinner. Not sad drawings, not dark drawings. For the first time in over a year, she had drawn something with color, with light. 2 children under a night sky surrounded by stars. When Ruth finished reading Bradley's message, Diana reached for her crayon. She drew something on a fresh page and turned it around for Ruth to see. A single word, written in her careful 10-year-old handwriting, yes. Ruth's eyes filled with tears. You want to do the program? The foundation thing? Diana nodded. Baby, that's wonderful. That's... Ruth couldn't finish. She just pulled Diana into a hug. Over her aunt's shoulder, Diana looked at the drawing she had made. The 2 children. The stars. She picked up her yellow crayon and added one more detail. 2 angels above the children, of the Gie. One with a bright smile, one with kind eyes, watching over them. Always here. That night, Bradley did something he hadn't done in 3 years. He tucked Liam into bed, sat on the edge of the mattress, and opened a sketchbook. Can I draw with you? He asked, signing the words slowly, imperfectly. Liam's eyes widened. His father had never asked to draw before. His father didn't draw, but Liam nodded. Bradley picked up a crayon, yellow, like Diana's, and made a clumsy circle on the page. I'm not very good at this, he admitted. Liam studied the circle. Then, with a small smile, he added 2 dots and a curved line. A face. A happy face. Bradley laughed. The first real laugh he'd had since his grandfather died. He added a body to the face. Stick arms, stick legs. Liam added another figure beside it, smaller, holding the bigger figure's hand, a father and a son. Bradley felt tears prick his eyes. He added one more detail above them. A star. Liam looked at the star, then at his father. And he understood. He picked up his crayon and drew a second star beside the first. 2 stars, connected, like him and Diana. Like him and Grandpa William, like him and his father. Bradley put down his crayon and wrapped his arms around his son. Liam hugged back. No words, no sounds, just presence, just love. And in that moment, Bradley finally understood what his grandfather had known all along. Some conversations don't need words. They just need someone willing to sit in the silence. This is a story about a flight from Boston to Atlanta. 2 hours and 45 minutes, 163 passengers, first class and economy, separated by a curtain and a lifetime of assumptions. A rich father who had everything except the ability to reach his own son. A poor girl who had nothing except a box of crayons and a broken heart. A boy trapped in silence. A girl trapped in silence, too. They found each other at 31,000 feet. Not through words, not through money, not through expertise or technology or any of the things we're taught to value. They found each other through drawings, through presence, through the simple, profound act of sitting with someone in their pain and saying, without speaking, "I see you. I'm here. You're not alone." $186,000 couldn't reach Liam Whitmore. A $2 box of crayons did, because the most powerful communication isn't always verbal. Sometimes it's a scarf given away, a crayon pressed into a palm, 2 stick figures holding hands under a sky full of stars. Diana Oakes spoke 2 words that day: Mom, and love you. After 426 days of silence, she found her voice. Not because someone fixed her, not because someone forced her, because a 7-year-old boy gave her his grandfather's scarf and made her feel safe. That's the thing about healing. It rarely comes from the people we expect. It rarely follows the path we plan. Sometimes it comes from a stranger. Sometimes it comes at 31,000 feet. Sometimes it comes from the person who everyone else wants removed. If this story reminded you that presence is more powerful than words, maybe share it with someone who needs to hear that today. And if you want more stories about the quiet miracles that happen when we truly see each other, a subscribe helps me find them for you. 2 children, 2 kinds of silence, 1 language that needed no sound at all. Some conversations don't need words. They just need someone willing to listen.